My name is Elena Ward. I'm 31 years old, and as I stand in my parents' quiet suburban kitchen in San Diego, my hands tremble around a thick ivory envelope, my sister's wedding invitation. It glimmers under the warm light like a promise, or maybe a warning I hadn't yet recognized. Tomorrow's the big day, and I've been preparing for weeks. My dress steamed and ready, my speech carefully written, the shoes I spent a fortune on waiting by the door. "Mom," I say brightly, setting the envelope down beside her mug of chamomile tea. "I can't believe the wedding's finally tomorrow." She freezes. Her spoon clatters against the ceramic. "Elena," she murmurs, not meeting my eyes, "it was last week." At first, I laugh, a confused, nervous sound. "What? No, the date's right here." I hold up the card, the swirling gold lettering elegant and perfect. Saturday, August 10th, tomorrow. Her face tightens. "We sent the wrong date," she says softly. "It's done, honey." The words land like stones in my chest. My pulse surges in my ears. "You... what?" She looks away, lips pressed tight. "Your sister wanted it small. Family only." "I am family," I snap, my voice cracking. The room tilts. The invitation slips from my hand and smacks the counter, the sound hollow. I stare down at it, the neat calligraphy, the embossed edges, a cruel joke. My own family had lied, deliberately keeping me out of my sister's wedding. It wasn't just a mistake, it was an exclusion, a betrayal. I think of everything I've done for them, the thousands I've poured into their lives over the years. The debts I cleared for my sister, the vacations I helped fund, the house repairs I covered without hesitation. My parents, my sister, they'd all taken, and still somehow I was never enough. I swallow hard, forcing back the sting of tears. "You lied to me," I whisper. "Please don't make a scene," my mother says, still not looking at me. "It's done, Elena. Let's not dredge things up." Her calmness cuts deeper than shouting ever could. Something inside me hardens. I won't cry. I won't beg. I've spent years earning their approval, trying to be enough. But right now I know they don't deserve my loyalty. They think they can erase me. Use me when convenient. Toss me aside when it suits them. They're about to learn I'm not that easy to erase. That night, back in my Gaslamp Quarter condo, I stare at the invitation on the coffee table. The elegant script gleams under my living room light, mocking me. The silence of my apartment presses against my ears as anger replaces heartbreak. How could they? Every memory replays like a cruel montage. The late-night calls, the money transfers, the empty promises of gratitude. 3 years ago, my sister, Victoria, 1 year younger than me, had called me sobbing. She'd just launched her dream interior design business, and her first major client had pulled out, leaving her $10,000 in debt. "Elena, please," she'd begged. "I'll pay you back the second I can." I wired the money the next morning. She never brought it up again. No repayment, not even a thank you. I told myself that's what sisters do. We help each other. Then came the summer my parents called. Their roof was leaking, their foundation cracked. $30,000 in repairs, or they'd lose their home insurance. "We'll pay you back," Dad had said gruffly. They never did. I paid anyway, because I thought it meant I was keeping us connected. But connection was a one-way street. They never invited me to Christmas again after that. Every year I'd see pictures online. The tree, the laughter, the matching sweaters. When I asked why, Mom would sigh. "You're always so busy with work." Last Thanksgiving, I drove 3 hours to surprise them, only to find their house dark. A text from my sister arrived 20 minutes later. "We're at the neighbors. It's just a small dinner. No invite, no apology." I remember standing on the porch, keys dangling, feeling like an uninvited guest to my own family. And yet, when they needed help again, tuition for my niece, credit card debt, vacation deposits, I was always their first call, always the reliable one, the fixer, the wallet. Now they'd made it clear I was useful but not loved. My phone buzzes on the table, breaking my thoughts. It's my cousin Claudia, the only person in my family who's ever treated me with real kindness. "Elena, are you okay?" she asks, her voice soft but knowing. The dam breaks. I tell her everything, the fake invitation, my mother's lies, the hollow explanation. Claudia is quiet for a beat. Then she sighs, a sound that says she's been holding something back. "I didn't want to be the one to tell you, but they planned it." My stomach twists. What? Victoria didn't want you there. She said you'd overshadow her. Your success, your confidence, it makes her insecure. Your mom backed her up. The room spins. My own mother helped exclude me from my sister's wedding. Claudia's voice is low. They didn't want you there, Elena. It wasn't about the date. It was deliberate. I grip the phone, anger simmering beneath my skin. She didn't want me to steal her spotlight? Elena, Claudia says carefully, you've always outshined them. They can't handle it. I laugh bitterly. So instead of celebrating me, they erase me. Silence stretches between us, heavy with shared disbelief. What are you going to do? Claudia finally asks. I turn toward the window. The city below glitters, alive, untouchable. My reflection stares back at me, eyes fierce and unrecognizable. What I should have done years ago, I say. I'm done being their safety net. They wanted to erase me from their perfect family portrait. Fine. Let's see how that portrait looks when I take my support away. The next morning, the San Diego sunlight hits my office windows hard and bright, but inside I feel none of its warmth. I wake early and call Linda before coffee. Do it, I say. Prepare everything necessary to change the locks, serve notice, and transfer the utilities into my name. I want them out of La Jolla in 30 days if they don't cooperate. She doesn't flinch. I'll get the drafts to you by noon, she replies. And Elena, be prepared for a fight. They'll try everything. I have spent my life paying their emergency bills, papering over their mistakes. This property was the one tangible thing I had kept aside in the quiet years. A stubborn, secret reserve I never mentioned because I didn't want them to feel entitled to it. I bought La Jolla when their financial troubles were worst. The title is in my name, my funds, my signature. I let them live there out of love and a childish hope that they would change. That hope evaporated the minute the invitation hit my palm. By 9, Linda's first drafts arrive. They are careful, precise, legal, and cold. Notice to quit. Demand for immediate accounting of rental income. Notice of lease termination if they assert any tenancy rights, which they don't. I add lines to the eviction notice that make my chest feel lighter. Failure to provide a truthful accounting of income derived from the property will constitute conversion of assets and be reported to the appropriate authorities. It reads like a threat, and it is. At noon, I sign the paperwork and wire funds to cover the minimal legal filing fees. Then I call Robert, my financial advisor, and ask him to freeze any joint accounts and to set a new password protocol on everything. He asks a few professional questions and then says, "You're doing the right thing, Elena. This will stop the bleeding." Good, I say. Make sure the bank has copies of today's notices. If they try to move funds or file anything fraudulent against me, I want a paper trail. By mid-afternoon, the first shockwaves hit home. My phone buzzes with an email from the property management company that had been running La Jolla's short-term rentals. They had been forwarding the booking notices and deposits to my parents' accounts and charging maintenance and management fees. When I call them, the manager's voice is sheepish. Ward, we had assumed the Wheelers were the owners. They signed documents under their names. We can reverse transfers, of course, but there are pending bookings for the weekend. Cancel the bookings, I tell her. Refund the guests. Forward me the account statements and all correspondence. And do not speak to my parents about this without my permission. Understood, she says. I'm so sorry. When I hang up, my stomach tightens. This is bigger than an eviction. They've been profiting for years from something that legally belongs to me. And they never thought to tell me. My hands shake as I forward the property statements to Linda and add a short note. I want full accounting. If bookings were diverted, we will pursue conversion. I don't feel like a villain. I feel like someone finally stepping out of the role they'd always cast me in. The bank, the permanent safety net, the invisible support. The law is clean. The facts are clean. The betrayal is filthy and obvious. Within 24 hours, the first calls start. My sister's phone rings constantly until she decides to come to my office along with her husband, Scott. She arrives like a whirlwind. Perfume, nervous laughter that doesn't reach the eyes. My receptionist motions them in and I stand to greet them. You couldn't let us have one day, could you? Vicky's voice is thin with panic. Elle, come on, this is family. Family, I repeat. Family doesn't take what isn't theirs and then act surprised when the owner insists on it back. Scott's hands clench at his sides. I didn't know, he says. I swear I didn't know. Vicky handles bookings, the house. You rented it out as if it were yours, I cut in. You used my asset to support your lifestyle. The income paid for your vacations and your contractor invoices. You didn't think it mattered. Vicky's lip trembles. You never told us it was yours, she says. We thought entitlement, I say. You assumed. Mom assumed. Dad assumed. My voice is still low, but each word is a blade. For years you all assumed I'd be there, but Elena, Scott starts. No, I say, no more. The accounts are separated. The house is in my name. You have 30 days to vacate, or I will begin formal eviction procedures. If you have booked guests, those funds belong to me, not to you. Vicky looks stunned for a long time, the room heavy with the silence after that. She had imagined I'd grit my teeth and bail her out the next time. She had banked on my predictable mercy. Instead, she sees my resolve. When they leave, there's a tremor under the surface of our family life. For public appearances, Vicky and Scott try to salvage dignity. Privately, there is panic. The emails begin, Mom's voice pleading, Dad's messages telling half-truths, and Vicky's texts swinging from fake contrition to ugly threats. She's always been able to spin the room. Now she's trying to spin me, and spin she does. Over the next few days, rumors sprout like weeds. Elena's cut us off, becomes the headline in living rooms and neighborhood coffee cliques. Some calls to my office come from neighbors. Sharp, contradictory voices splitting the world into villain and victim. I keep my head down and my calendar full. Work is a safe harbor. It requires problem solving, not feelings. A week after the notices, my phone explodes. Scott leaves a voice message that starts calm and devolves into raw fear. Elle, listen, Vicky's clients are angry. The contractor is threatening to file a lien. She needs help with payroll. I know you feel betrayed, but can you at least help us with... I don't call back. Instead, I reply to Claudia, who is already helping my cousins and friends understand the truth. Don't let them gaslight you, she says over coffee 2 days later. They're spinning a story that you're selfish so they can keep the money. We'll speak to neighbors, we'll tell the facts. It won't matter to everyone, I say, but it will matter to some. Her presence is a kind of anchor. She shuttles messages between me and the world, smoothing out the edges. I begin to realize that when you take away the puppet master's strings, the marionette stage collapses. Friends who had only ever known me as the family bank begin to see the pattern, how my patience had been weaponized. A month passes, and the cracks deepen. Vicky misses a major client meeting. Her biggest client balks when contracts reveal unpaid invoices for subcontractors that had been covered by my funds. She tries to blame the downturn, the tough market, an uncooperative venue. But no one can hide the truth forever. A business propped up by borrowed money collapses when the lender walks away. One morning, Scott shows up at my door with a face like a dying man. Please, he says, voice small. We don't have anywhere to go. Your parents have nowhere. I need to save my business. Can't you help with one emergency loan? Something in me, a muscle I'd spent years strengthening, twitches. I think of standing on that porch with my keys in hand, the way their porch light once felt like a blockade instead of a welcome. I think of the nights I covered mortgage payments and the way they dismissed me in public. I think of the invitation with the wrong date in my kitchen. No, I say finally, and the word is very quiet. You made your choices. You lived on other people's money. You will have to live with that. He stammers, tries to bargain, promises I'll pay you back. That phrase is hollow now. He leaves without begging further. The next day, the contractor places a lien on the business assets, and the next week, the landlord warns of eviction notices. The dominoes fall. In the community, the spin doctors are in full work. My parents send a letter to a circle of friends, a crafted plea about broken family ties and financial misunderstandings. Some people sympathize. A few friends message me privately to say they had no idea. The public relations campaign is a shallow thing. Real life is messier, and facts have a way of replenishing themselves. The strangest part of this upheaval is the way it strips me down to essentials. I spend mornings reconciling statements and evenings fielding angry voicemails. I find myself laughing sometimes, a sharp, incredulous sound because they had no idea how thorough I was. They thought I was small and sentimental. They had never tried to see the quiet work I did, the spreadsheets, the contracts, the nights I learned to be a projects manager and then a tech lead. They'd assumed I'd always be the safety net. They treated me like a resource, withdraw, repeat. When bookings management finally hands over 3 years of transaction records to Linda, the numbers are brutal. Tens of thousands in rental revenues that never made it to me. Payments for weddings and events stacked neatly in my parents' account. The phrase conversion of assets becomes less hypothetical every hour. Linda prepares the final letters. Demand for accounting, request for funds transferred inadvertently to be returned, and an ultimatum. Settle the accounting in 30 days, or we file suit. Watching them scramble is a peculiar kind of release. They attack the messenger, me, in the press and in private, but they can't unspool the documents. Evidence is paper and timestamps and signatures. It doesn't know how to be sentimental. It just knows dates. And dates are what they use to exclude me. One evening, a week before the eviction deadline, my mother calls and finally speaks plainly. "Elena, please," she says. "We didn't mean to hurt you. If you give us a chance, we can make things right. Come to the wedding. Vicky wants you there." I listen to her for a long minute. The kitchen in my childhood home slams into my memory, the clink of her spoon, the way she looked away when I asked. I imagine my sister in her dress, smiling at an aisle I was never invited down. "Mom," I say slowly, each word measured, "I want to be done with lies. If you want to make things right, start by returning the income you collected. Make the bookkeeping accurate. I will consider letting you stay in La Jolla if you can demonstrate you were honest with guests and subcontractors. And if you want me at the wedding, earn it. Apologize publicly for excluding me." A pause, heavy and sorrowful. "We will try," she says. "Please, Elena." She may try, but trying is not the same as fixing. Trying is a word for the hopeful, not the accountable. When I hang up, I feel nothing heroic. I feel tired but steady. This is not a victory. It's a necessary recalibration. They will either meet the law and reality, or they will face the consequences. 2 days later, Vicky's business files for Chapter 11 protection. The community's whispers swell into an ugly chorus. Mom collapses into a flurry of calls to friends and distant relatives. Dad tightens his jaw and shadows himself away from most public faces. They are suddenly very small and very human in ways I hadn't wanted to see. And me? I stand on the sand at La Jolla that weekend watching the tide roll in. The ocean is ruthless and indifferent and true. It erodes and reshapes. It reveals seashells and old glass and sometimes the bones of things long forgotten. In the distance, gulls wheel and sunlight makes the water a million tiny mirrors. For the first time in a long while, I feel clear. I did not take the house to punish them. I took it because they had treated me like a bank, not a woman with limits. I took it because the trust had been broken so many times I could no longer pretend ignorance. I did it because loving someone does not mean letting them take and never give back. The tide pulls at my feet and I feel something simple and pure, relief. The line in the sand has been drawn. The next chapter will be messy and there will be losses on both sides. But it will also be honest. They say revenge is a poor teacher. Maybe. But standing up for myself is an education. I teach them by example, not by spectacle. I teach them that boundaries mean something. I teach them that kindness without accountability breeds entitlement. And I teach myself that generosity must be wise, not blind. At dusk, I walk back up the path to La Jolla, my silhouette long in the sand. Inside, the house is quiet. The rooms hold memories of holidays my parents had hosted there, and now they are empty of pretense. I open my laptop and begin drafting a plan, not for revenge, but for restoration. This house will remain in my name, but it won't be a weapon. It will be a place to rebuild, to repair what I can, and to set a foundation that doesn't depend on other people's promises. 3 weeks later, the house sits empty. The bookings are canceled and refunds issued. The renters who had once stayed in my place are looking for new options. My parents are staying with relatives for now, angry, ashamed, or both. Vicky is rebuilding her portfolio, starting small and sober. I don't rejoice at her struggle. I simply let the consequences exist. She must learn to stand on her own. Some nights, sleep is elusive. I replay their faces. Mom's strained calm, Dad's avoidance, Vicky's smirk the night I left. But increasingly, the replay fades and I'm left with daytime, with work, with friends who stand by me, with Claudia's steady voice saying, "You did the right thing." The meetings at the office, the calls with Linda and Robert, and the evenings on the deck of La Jolla, each stitched together a life that no longer bends to their will. As the final day of the eviction window approaches, my phone buzzes with a message from my mother. "We're sorry. We've returned all funds. Can we talk?" I read it twice and set the phone down. The ball is in their court. The house is mine. The boundary stands. The rest is theirs to mend if they can. 6 months later, I stood once again on the deck of the La Jolla beach house, the same place where years ago I'd signed papers to save it from foreclosure, thinking I was saving my family. Back then, I thought love meant sacrifice. Now I understood that love without respect was just servitude disguised as loyalty. The ocean stretched endlessly before me, a sheet of molten silver under the late afternoon sun. The air smelled of salt and freedom, clean, unfiltered, real. I'd kept the house, restored it, and turned it into something new. Not a family retreat, not a secret lifeline, but mine. My sanctuary. Below the deck, workers were finishing the last touches of renovation. New paint, modern fixtures, solar panels, all paid for from the accounts I once let my family drain dry. The irony wasn't lost on me. The house they treated like their personal piggy bank was now the foundation of my independence. Inside, my phone buzzed again, an unfamiliar number this time. I almost ignored it, but something in me, the old instinct that once always answered, made me swipe. "Elena?" The voice was shaky, hesitant. "My mother." "Mom." A pause. Just the sound of breathing, uncertain. "I heard you're renting the house again. It's beautiful, isn't it?" "It is." She inhaled sharply. "We lost ours, you know. The San Diego house. After everything. I'd read the foreclosure notice weeks ago. I didn't gloat. I didn't pity. I just accepted it as a natural end. Elena," she continued softly, "I wanted to tell you something. Vicky's struggling. The bankruptcy wiped her business. Scott left her. She's back with us, or she was. We're staying with a friend now." The guilt-trapped tone was unmistakable. I stared out at the horizon, the tide pushing steadily in, just as relentless as ever. "Mom," I said carefully, "I'm sorry for what you're going through, but I can't fix it anymore." Her voice trembled. "We were wrong. I was wrong. I let things go too far. Your sister thought—" "She thought she could cut me out of her wedding," I interrupted. "She thought I'd stay quiet. That you'd all keep taking, pretending it was love." "I know," she whispered. "I see that now." "Do you?" I asked. "Because knowing isn't enough. You watched it happen. You let it happen. You even justified it." "I didn't know how to stop her," she murmured. "She's my daughter." "And I'm not?" That silence, that hollow, aching silence, told me everything I needed to know. For years, that gap between us had been a canyon. I'd shouted across it, hoping for an echo. None ever came. She finally spoke again, voice cracking. "Elena, I want us to start over. Please, come see us. Your father's health isn't good. We're just trying to find our footing again." It was the first time she'd said please to me in my entire life. And maybe, somewhere inside, the part of me that had once ached for family still wanted to believe in redemption. But forgiveness wasn't a gift to hand over. It was something earned, rebuilt through honesty and time. "I'm not coming, Mom," I said quietly. "But if you really want to make amends, stop spinning stories about me. Stop calling me selfish when I set boundaries. Stop pretending I abandoned you when the truth is you abandoned me first." Her breath hitched, but she didn't argue. "I'll think about it," she whispered. "Goodbye, Elena." When the line went dead, I sat there for a while, watching the waves. My chest was tight, but not heavy. The pain was still there, just quieter now. That night, Claudia came by with takeout and wine. She was the only one who hadn't chosen convenience over truth. "They'll reach out again," she said, opening the bottle. "They always do." "Maybe," I said. "But I'm not the same person they used to know." We ate in comfortable silence, the ocean murmuring just beyond the glass doors. The stars came out one by one over the water. Not perfect, not uniform, but steady. Weeks turned into months. I built something new from the ashes of that betrayal, a consultancy firm specializing in financial ethics for small businesses. It started as a passion project, a way to help others avoid the same traps I'd fallen into. Within a year, it had doubled in revenue. I hired 5 people, all women who had once been dismissed or overlooked, just like me. La Jolla became more than a house. It became a symbol. I hosted mentorship retreats there. Women who had been the responsible ones, the family fixers, the invisible pillars who kept everyone else standing. We shared stories late into the night about guilt, boundaries, and the quiet power of reclaiming your voice. One of them, a single mother named Renee, said through tears, "They tell us family comes first, but sometimes family's the first to tear you down." I nodded, my throat thick. "And that's why you build yourself back up. Stronger, smarter, unapologetic." That became the motto of my workshops, build yourself back up. It was almost a year to the day since the fake wedding invitation when I saw my sister again. I was coming out of a cafe downtown when I heard her voice, tentative, almost childlike. "Elena?" I turned. There she was, thinner, eyes duller, hair scraped back. The designer clothes and confidence were gone. She looked smaller somehow, like the air around her had deflated. For a moment, all I could see was the girl I used to defend in school, the sister who'd begged for help at midnight years ago. She gave a brittle smile. "You look good." "So do you," I lied. She shifted awkwardly. "I've been meaning to reach out. I just didn't know how." I said nothing. "I ruined everything," she blurted. "You were right. About the business. About everything. I thought being the golden child made me better, but it just made me blind." I looked at her, searching for manipulation. That same flicker I'd seen too many times before. But this time, there was none. Only exhaustion. Only truth. "I don't expect you to forgive me," she said, voice trembling. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry." And for the first time in years, I believed her. Maybe people can change, when life strips them down far enough to make them see themselves. "Thank you," I said simply. "That means something." She swallowed. "Can we start over?" I paused. Not as it was, but maybe one day as something new. She nodded, eyes glistening. "I'll take that." When she walked away, I felt something shift, a quiet closure, not from revenge or victory, but from release. That night, I stood again on the La Jolla deck, the ocean whispering below. The same ocean that had seen my anger, my grief, my resolve. I thought about my family, the mother who'd called too late, the father who never spoke up, the sister who finally admitted her truth. Forgiveness, I realized, wasn't about letting them back in. It was about freeing myself from the weight of what they'd done. I didn't need them to validate my success, my worth, or my choices. I had built a life that no longer revolved around their approval. I took a deep breath, letting the sea air fill my lungs. The horizon stretched endlessly, and for the first time in a long time, I felt at peace with its uncertainty. Because this quiet, steady freedom, was the kind of revenge that needed no spectacle. It was the kind that lasted, and it was mine.